My name is Lisa Quenan, and I'm a new customer at Sterling Acura of Austin. We just moved here 5 months ago, and my old car needed some service, and I didn't really know where to take it. So actually it was a random internet search, and we came up with Sterling and went there first, and I will never leave. I don't think, yeah. Well, I think I realized it was time to let go of the old car when it had over 140,000 miles on it, and I took it in because the air conditioning wasn't working, but it turned out there were a lot more things going on. There was an oil leak and timing belt and brakes and all kinds of things. And so the money that we would have put in, we thought it through and we were like, it might be better to invest in a new one. And then the day came when I drove in my old one, and they took it away and they said, oh, and here's your new one, and it was wonderful, and they clap, and it was like a big celebration and handshakes and congratulations on your new vehicle. And then they said, oh, now just go clean out your old one, and then you just drive away in this brand new beautiful car. And so I was like, okay, how hard can that be? And I walked outside, and there she was. Her name was Bessie. And I lost it. I just started sobbing because I was so grateful to be able to get a new car, but it was like her entire life flashed before my eyes, just standing there. And all the memories of not just what I had been through, what my family had been through while we owned this car, just started to roll. And so I opened up the door and started to pull things out, and I was sobbing and sobbing. And Lester came over, and he asked, if I was okay, and I said, I'm fine. I'm just kind of having a moment. I didn't realize it would be so hard to say goodbye to this old girl. And he said, oh, good memories, huh? And I said, yes, but also some bad ones. And he said, oh, well, now I'm kind of curious. Like, tell me. And I said, well, the first thing is that I bought that car, Bessie, in 2009, right before my mom died. And so she was the girl that I drove 7 hours at a time, many times, almost weekly, to go see my mom as she was passing away. And so I felt like right then we bonded for the rest of our natural lives, because she saw me through some really hard times. And then that was the car that 2 of my 3 kids learned to drive in. It was the car that my son got really sick, and I had to go pick him up from college, and she was the car I drove down to get him. She was the car that we just, in a hasty hurry, just threw all his stuff in and got him home as soon as we could, because he wasn't doing well. That was the car that we, if we were, my husband and I were going to go on date night, and we were pretty boring, and we would just, drive to the movie and go watch a movie, but we also got engaged at a movie. So for us, going to a movie is kind of a special thing. And she just went along for the ride, and she didn't really ask for much in return. And that was a beautiful thing. When my son went through this illness and then finally was going to rehab, his issue was substance abuse, that was the car that I loaded him into and took him and dropped him off, and where we finally started to get help, not just for him but for our family as well. So that was the car that my one daughter, we did a variety of college visits for all my kids, but drove that car to Iowa, Alabama, South Carolina, Indiana, just all over, just to see different colleges, and just spending that time in that car with my kids, having that one-on-one time. You learn a lot. You learn a lot that you might not otherwise know, and I consider that a privilege to be able to have had that time like that with my children, because now they're grown and they're out of the house, so that time is over. One of my most favorite memories about Bessie is that my one daughter played a lot of softball, and that car, I still can picture it just stuffed with coolers and bags and just crap, just like literally just bulging out of the back of the car. And she's just in her, sweaty, slimy softball uniform, and we're driving all over the country to, take her to play softball. And it's just some of the best memories that, I think we all have, and definitely I have. So, yeah, Bessie she was part of the family. And I miss her, I do. And yeah, it's just been, it was a good ride. And we drove that car from Illinois here when we moved in 18 hours. But when I first got here, I brought it in just for some general service. And Mitchell was the one that said, you know, let me just keep it, or if it's okay, let me keep it, and we'll just kind of give it a once over. And then that was kind of when all this stuff got detected. And then he actually introduced me to Ben Gutierrez. It was so easy and so informal. And then Ben was like, you know, can I show you a couple cars? I mean, almost like a little timid to, you know, to want to sell something to me. And I said, yeah, sure. I'd love to. I'd love to look at the RDX because it had the MDX. It was a little too big. And he said, you know, do you want to test drive? And I said, yes. And so we did. And I mean, I barely got out of the parking lot onto the frontage road of 35, and I already knew. I was like, this is the car. I already know this is the car I want to get. And then that was kind of it. We went back, and he was like, are you sure you don't want to test drive this other one? I said, no, I'm good. It's fine. And it was all really low pressure, no stress, really easy. Maybe the easiest car buying experience I've ever had, honestly. And it was just easy. That's when, you know, 4 people were standing there clapping, which was a little overwhelming, a little shocking, but also really sweet to be kind of like welcomed. It did. It felt like being welcomed into a family and treated like they would treat their own family. And that I thought was really unusual and honestly really a beautiful thing. So Sterling Acura's amenities are beautiful. I didn't know it was brand new, but it certainly looks brand new. It's clean, almost to the point of sparkling and spotless, and when dealing with cars, I wouldn't expect that. I know there are lots of amenities I haven't even taken advantage of. I mean, the one thing that really caught my attention, and also then my husband's attention, was that if you are traveling and you need a ride to the airport, apparently you can drop your car there and they'll keep it, and if you need service, they can do it while you're gone, and then they will go and get you and bring you back. And you pick up your, you know, serviced, clean, brand new car and drive away. And we couldn't even believe that was an option. I've never heard of that. That certainly wasn't part of any other Acura dealership I've ever been to. The service department is just really, it's easy to get to. It's easy to get your car in there. You don't have to worry about hitting something or the door or anything. Everybody who works in service was super friendly and just wanted to know how they could help. There was no hidden agenda, just here's your car, what can we do for you? And you know, that was it. Even in the showroom, the way the cars are laid out, it's just kind of easy to see at a glance like what's available, and yeah, we can go from there. I would say Sterling Acura definitely exceeded any standards I had, and they might actually have been a little bit high because I already owned an Acura. Actually, we've owned 2 of them, and so we know what those cars offer. We know the kind of service you get at that kind of dealership, and it was just beyond anything I could have imagined. From probably for me, what matters the most is the personal touch and the warmth and I felt the sincerity of what they were saying and their approach, and that I just was in capable hands and they weren't out to just make a deal, that they were really wanting to have a customer for life, which I think they have in me. So if somebody were to ask me where they should get a new car, and if it was somebody I knew or a good friend or a family member, I would say go to Sterling Acura. They'll take good care of you, you can trust them, and you'll get an amazing vehicle that will be part of your family. My name is Lisa Quenan, and I'm a Sterling Acura customer for life.